Joining us in the KX Country Clubhouse this afternoon, songwriter, producer, and head of Manic Down Productions, his very own production company, Dan Swinimer. Dan, thanks for stopping in today.
Pete, thanks for having me, my friend. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. A lot of folks, you know, back in the day when I was growing up, we used to read liner notes, and I used to do that. I'd sit and listen to the album, and I'd say, oh, so-and-so wrote that. Oh, it was produced by blah, blah. Oh, so-and-so played piano on it. Nowadays, people don't do that so much, but boy, if they did, they'd see your name just about everywhere, Dan Swinimer.
Well, it's funny because guys like me love people like you who actually read the liner notes, but typically I've found too that guys like me tend to enjoy being kind of in the backdrop and watching what the artists go through. You know, I remember watching artists that I'd be on the road with after a show, like doing signings for hours after, like just blasting all their energy out on the stage and then meeting people and signing for hours after. Whew. Well, the band, by the way, is backstage, you know, having a few cold ones, having a few laughs. And so anyways, but I do appreciate people that actually take the time to see, not just for the writers and the producers, but the musicians. Because I know for me personally, I'm nothing without my musicians.
Now, you're out in British Columbia, and that's where Manic Down Productions is based. And we first became aware of you back in 2014 or so with the release of Madeline Merlot's debut, which you co-wrote, Singing Like a Stone. Maddie was 17 when you met her.
Yes. It was a pretty lucky day for me, obviously. I mean, she's such a sweet girl, and she still to this day thanks me for every milestone that she reaches. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that should be thanking her, because as a writer producer, nothing makes you look better than a singer of that caliber, I can assure you.
And boy, has she grown as a songwriter too, eh, Dan? You got to have some hand in that as well.
Well, all I did was provide her with the pool to dip her toe into. I encouraged her to be a songwriter, and I really felt like she would be a good one just based on the conversations that we would have. She had such a cool perspective on life. She was such an interesting person to be around. The way that she expressed herself, I always found so interesting, and I just knew that she would. And she was so good with melodies too. Like it was a natural thing for her. So, but the most important thing was once I kind of helped her get started, she just worked her butt off. Like. You get that rare thing where it's talent combined with work ethic with Madeline. And because what happens oftentimes when you have natural gifts, you never have to work that hard. So you don't develop that work ethic, but somehow she managed to get both, mix in a whole lot of grace and humility, and you've got Madeline.
Not long after that, you hooked up with a fella by the name of Jojo Mason, co-wrote a few of his songs, produced them, and that was quite a story then too.
Yeah, again, pretty lucky chance meeting. I had been writing on a Friday with the aforementioned Jeff Johnson, and Jeff and I have, you know, we've been doing stuff together forever in music, and so we're very comfortable when we write, and we have very friendly headbutting sessions, which you get excited about that as a writer, because you know that when the two are comfortable enough in the room. Anyways, we had an argument about a line that I wanted to use, sipping moonshine out of a jar, which I used to, it wasn't technically moonshine, but as a kid growing up in a small town in Ontario, Dad, earmuffs, please. Used to sneak into your dad's liquor cabinet, take a little out of each bottle so he wouldn't notice any.
We called it jungle juice at the time, I believe.
So for us, we called it either moonshine or, oh shoot, I can't remember. We had two names for it, but moonshine was one. And often we would use a pickle jar or a mason jar to carry it. So I said, you know, sipping moonshine out of a jar, which Jeff and I were new to country at the time, so we didn't know that that was practically a cliche in country music. But he didn't get it. He was like, "Why are you sipping it out of a jar?" And I said, "Well, that's what we did." And he's like, "Well, maybe you did it, but nobody else does that. No one's going to know what you're talking about." So we have this friendly back and forth, and then no word of a lie. Later that night, I go to a Christmas party at a friend's place, and this guy shows up, and I'm always very aware, being in artist development, of someone who has that X factor, that big personality. And with Madeline, I always used to say, when she walks into a room, it's like someone just flicked the lights on. And so this guy walks in with a personality bigger than, than the biggest room you can imagine. And so he comes walking in. I immediately recognize the personality, but I have no reason to believe that, I haven't connected it to music at all. But he walks into the kitchen, takes off a backpack, pulls out, no word of a lie, moonshine that he bought that came in a mason jar. So immediately, that's a talking point for me because of what had happened earlier that day. So we get talking, we get drinking the moonshine. At first, he's like, "Who is this guy?" And eventually, he asked what I did for a living, and I told him that I was in music. And he asked, he knew all the Madeline stuff I had done, and he was a huge country music fan. So after many moonshines and a few hours had passed, I just said to him, it's too bad you're not in music, because you've got that X factor that I'm always looking for. And he said, why don't you let me try? And I asked him if he had ever sung for anyone. He said no. And I asked him if he was any good, and he said he didn't think he was the worst. And anyways, I don't know. I just had a feeling, so I gave him my card and said, if you still feel that way tomorrow, it's worth an hour of my time. Come on in. He did. A year and a half later, we had our first top 10 hit together.
Good Kind of Love, and what a catchy that was. And you co-wrote that one too, did you not?
Yes. The first one was actually It's All Good.
Oh, It's All Good. I'm sorry. Yeah. Good Kind of Love came second. Thank you, Dan.
Good Kind of Love came second. And that one we ended up writing in Nashville with a good buddy, Phil Barton, which anyone in the country music industry knows very, very well. He's very well known and full of energy. But yeah, it was a really, really great run. And again, consider myself, like, what are the chances of that happening? How lucky am I because it's not like Jojo came into the studio having never sung for anyone and was terrible and I had to teach him how to sing. The guy could sing. Yeah. And, so I consider myself ridiculously lucky in both of those cases.
2 for 2, Madeline, Merlot, and Jojo Mason. And right. Since then, you've gone on to do a bunch of other work, including Peterborough's Elise Saunders, her latest. Did you not work with Sasha as well from Oshawa?
I did. I produced her current single, Standards, and her current EP. I actually, there's a song on her current EP called Runaway that I co-wrote with Tennille Townes.
So you're still doing the writing in addition to the production, and I know you had a Billy Currington cut. That's really something to get a Nashville artist doing one of your
songs. Yeah, that was that was a nice surprise because I was getting, at the time I had a publishing deal. That was my thing. I didn't even really want to do production. It's funny because when I got her deal with Open Road, they said they wanted me to produce her first record, and I was like, I don't want to produce it. Because I was the songwriter. I was a writer on every song. I wanted like one of these big fancy producers to produce it to protect my songwriting. And they kept insisting that I produce it. I'm like, please, no, get a really good producer. So I'm glad they convinced me to do it, because now it's the tables have turned. I do more production than writing.
The pandemic hasn't slowed you down at all. Manic Down Productions has been in full steam. What are you working on these days?
Well, I'm really excited. I literally just delivered the next 2 David James songs to mix on Sunday. So I should get those mixes back. And I'm telling you, these are by far the best David James songs that you have ever heard.
David's got such a strong voice, and I think people don't realize that. They hear his songs on the radio, but when you see him live, he's like Robert Plant, man. He's just...
Have you seen him do those Led Zeppelin covers?
Yes.
It's insane. And I sort of, because the challenge is I see him do that. And I had already produced a bunch of his stuff the first time I saw him do that. And I was just like, why aren't we taking advantage of that? That is ridiculous. Nobody can do that. And I feel like I might have found a way to, it's not full on Robert Plant, but I feel like I found a way to, and I even warned Mike Denny, the president of MDM Recordings, David's label, before I sent him my rough of the song. I said, okay, I gotta warn you in advance. You know, I've wanted to get some element of this Robert Plant thing in one of David's songs. I kind of think I did, and I think I did it in a way that isn't going to kill its chances at radio, but I do require you to have an open mind when you listen. And Mike is so great. He did have an open mind. He loved it. I think I finally found a tasteful way to show a little bit more of what David can do. And, but if you ever get a chance to see David live and see him actually cover a Led Zeppelin song, it is something to see for sure.
Have you got any advice you'd offer up and comers? Like, a lot of folks want to be singers, they want to be stars, but I know there's people out there that are writing songs and have no desire to get on stage, or they're twiddling knobs in their basement at their recording studio. Do you have any advice for potential future producer and writers?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, don't do what you've done, which is write all these amazing clips and then not show anyone. I didn't know that you did anything to any of this stuff. And so I go through, you send me some, I finally find out.
Oh, you're talking about my music?
Yes. You send me your SoundCloud, and I'm going through listening, and it's like, you've got every style of music. I had so much fun checking out your stuff, but I couldn't believe the wildly eclectic styles that you're writing in.
I have very eclectic tastes. I've loved all kinds of music since I was growing up, country music especially. And if anything, I wish I could write better country songs. I listen to the stuff you guys do, and I'm like, maybe I just got to find the right collaborator, Dan.
Well, it's partly that, and it's partly it's hard to have a real job at the level that you have, and also because the true advice is just working at it, because there is no substitute for it. And one of the most tragic things that I see in country music, in music in general, is people that have a gift and they don't know how to use it, because the talented ones rise to the top without the work ethic. But you can only get so far. Eventually you're competing with everyone that has a similar level of talent, and you're still not all the way there. And then it's your work ethic that will truly put you over the top. And just doing it. Literally everything that I've done in music has been out of sheer necessity. When I first got my writing deal in Nashville, nobody was recording my songs. I felt like I was writing songs that could do well at radio, but I still wasn't getting any cuts. So I went out and found my own artist, and that was Madeline. And I worked with her for 2 years behind the scenes, because she was very young. She was a great singer, but there was other stuff that needed work, and she was totally gung ho. And again, even production. Like I didn't want to be a producer, but I didn't have the money to hire a producer to record demos. I had to figure it out. And it's not that I suggest wearing all these different hats, but it's literally just a matter of, if you really want it, you got to spend all your time at it, because there's someone out there. There's always someone out there that is putting everything they've got into it.
Dan, I know you've been developing this new app that's bringing artists together. It's called Tribe, Trybe. Can you tell us about it? Simply explain what it is and where people can find out about it.
Absolutely. So my good friend Felipe called me one day and had an issue with the fact that his son, who was a semi-professional scooter rider, scooters, little thin skateboard with a handle on it. He does things that would blow your mind on this thing. He spent all his time practicing, and he was getting so good. And then he spends all his money on video editing equipment and recording himself and posting it and getting likes, and that's it. And Felipe tells me this, and I say, I feel the same way about artists that I work with. They spend so much time posting content on social media. Why shouldn't they be compensated for that? Especially when you hear that 1% of Facebook is worth $5 billion. So we set out to try and solve this problem, and we hope that we have with our new social platform called Tribe. The core concept is very simple. We've created a system where you can like in the same way that you would like on Instagram, but you can also award. And if you award, you're actually sending an amount of money. It can be as little as 10 cents or as much as you want. We kind of realized that might not be enough incentive, just the goodwill to get people to awards. So we wanted to incentivize it a little bit more. So we decided that based on Instagram's success and Facebook's success, people really value exposure and engagement on their post. So we felt like, what if we, in exchange for awarding someone's post, a good deed, you get something in return in the form of exposure for your own posts. And immediately I felt like I understood the power of that for an artist who's, they spend so much time and energy on social media, they get nothing in return. On our platform, you can go out and do a few good deeds, and you can stockpile this ability to boost your own post. And then when you have your new song or your content that you're excited about, you can give a couple of people 10-cent awards, and then you can boost your own post and really push that out. And the more you boost your post, the more awards you're going to receive for your post. And if you follow that down the rabbit hole, when the platform scales and we have a lot of people in there, and then the corporations inevitably come in and start spending their huge social media budget on our platform, they have the same set of rules that all the users, the individual users have. They have to pay the users in order to boost their content. And they're spending millions and millions of dollars boosting content on social media currently. So now all that money is out into the tribe community. There's a lot of money there to go around. We felt there's still a business there for us if we give the users most of the boosting money and not keep it for ourselves. So we're really excited about what we can, maybe changing the landscape of social media.
It sounds revolutionary, and it sounds like a lot of work, and you're going to need to build the critical mass. But boy, once it gets going, how do people find out more about the tribe? It's a platform, I guess, not an app as such.
Yeah, it is an app, and in fact, currently it's much more a mobile app than it is. The website is up, but and the website will be much more functional as we go. But in the tech world, you kind of just have to, to make the biggest thing you're worried about is running out of money. So we're always, prioritizing, and getting the app ready was the first thing. So the app is ready. You can go to and we ungated it just literally like a couple of weeks ago. So you can go to the App Store, whichever kind of phone you have, and download it from the App Store. And it's worth sticking with us because it's early. The app is, it's the features, the features are coming gradually as we go. The core feature is there. You can award and you can boost your post, but as the app gets bigger and as the features grow, and even the design, like, we have a very basic design at this point, but the design will be evolving a lot over the next few months. And like, you don't have to be a musician, anyone. Everyone's already posting. If you post in Tribe and your post gets a lot of engagement, then you're going to get some of that money to keep. And whether you make $30 a year or $300,000 a year or anything in between, why not? It's still something. And we really believe in making social media a more social and more fair experience for people.
Couldn't agree more. And again, it's spelled Trybe.
One other thing I'd like to mention about the app, we've opened our first program. We're going to be doing a bunch of these programs. It's called the One to Watch program. And the first one is One to Watch Music. And all you have to do is post on Tribe and something musical, like whether it's an original song, you can be you performing a cover, just something musical. Use the hashtag One to Watch Music. And every month, the post that gets the most engagement wins the equivalent of $200. And a name that we mentioned earlier, Elise Saunders, she actually won the very first inaugural One to Watch Music program with. She did a beautiful, beautiful cover of Stand By Me. So $200, it's there for the taking. Every month it's going to get harder to win because the platform's growing and there's going to be more people involved. So get in and get on and try and take advantage as much as you can of a new revenue source for artists.
Tribe with a Y, seek it out, artists, songwriters, I guess painters, whatever, any
You
kind
got
of
to
art
get
at
in
all.
on this, Pete. You are a songwriter, and I really am going to start bugging you to get your music out there a little bit more.
All right, brother. I appreciate that. We've been chatting with Dan Swinimer inside the KX Country Clubhouse. Dan, thank you so much. Take care. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.